spirit of matter. And Pluto has ingressed. I'm going to put this right here. I have to admit, my Pluto ingress experience was fantastic. I just felt a hug. It's like somebody was hugging me in the astral, and that was absolutely something that I needed. Um, and then I was thinking about, first of all, I was thinking about my teeth. Like, I'm sick of it. I have to. I don't know, like, I didn't get the tooth pasta that I ordered that is natural. Um, and then I was thinking about, oh, China, like, they do the same thing, but they cut the organs of the people. And I felt this deep hug, and I could be me, the child, again. Um, and then there was again these two beings that all of you already know. They're trying to get leverage at my energy, and I'm like, guys, if you did something about that MK Ultra instead of trying to invest in enslaving people, something about the cults of curses and covenants and betrayals, 444 as I speak, um, then yeah, then first of all, one of you already know that we're not compatible, like our Marses emasculate each other, right? For the other person, like after what you did, they think it's good to try with another person, but you have to do something about this MK Ultra. Um, and that's the thing. So the first thing I thought about was the Uranus-Venus cycle, and Uranus in Venus sign. Um, Now Sun is releasing from opposition to Uranus, and that is, I may have not bought an estate, and I'm 40, or had a family, but I'm getting towards my Uranus opposition single, which means that I do save a lot of money that people lose on divorce at this stage. And I had a eureka because, okay, when I was around 36, 30 something, I was just gutting out of this horror and thinking I'm retired. But that was not the case. And that was only preparing me for, like, right now with the Pluto square. And I'm like, literally the only visible one that was speaking MK Ultra before Jag. May or may not have gotten Jag to talk about this. And now with the Cold War and everything exposed. So vouch for Jag. But you see, as the people of the world, um, and I owe a lot to Peter on that level, because I did not know him when he was alive, but I was kind of the person that he won't shut up, and I love that, and we need that. He spoke against WHO, and also Wilders, the complete opposition, but he speaks against what's wrong in Islam, and we need these people. Okay, and I'm one of them. Okay, so that gets on a romantic level. I had an Instagram post on that yesterday, which I said, it's like everybody seems to have a somebody. Why can't I find my somebody? And then I was like, well, if they want me to to put on horns, I challenge you to take down MK Ultra. Um, and the fact it is, when I go into my chart, it's not a doggone standard. Okay, it's like that I really need that. um, to be happy, to be in a happy relation, I really need that. And I think that gets some ladies um, distressed. But that was a eureka that I got, because I can tell you, when I was, in my 30s, um, there would be men around, and some of them would not be single. So I would send them back to their wifey, to the girlfriend. Sometimes they proposed. And I'm like, hey, if you're, because I was putting it only on the man. I was like, hey, if you are here, it's because very likely I remind you of something of your girlfriend or something of your wife. And it's very likely you ran into an obstacle in your relationship that you would run into with me. Okay. Um, and so only now when I am where I am, I'm like, okay, there's a part of it is true that's the man, and some men actually know how to deal with these things in relationships. But the question is of the life direction, and so it's both for men who have women like this, and women who have men in those situations. The reality that we are entering right now is the reality that the Pluto has ingressed. Okay, the expiration date for we'll just try to change the system from within the system expired. Okay, the we'll just raise our children and choose our battles. Okay, expired. The Copox tried to do that, and then I buy the Temamundi. Okay. Okay, and every single time, yeah, I was like, I barely have money for food. Like, no, I buy the Temamundi. And I use it to abolish satanic ritual abuse. But big shout out to Catherine Urban. Um, I'm not gonna say why, but really, if you need an astrological reading or something, like that's the place I would go today. Square and honest. Um, she talks about Aries and she talks about the things you need to say, and she's a Libra, so she does that in such an elegant way. I have Mercury in Aries opposing Pluto natally. So when I speak, but my natal moon is in Cancer, which means I'm such a bag of fluff and so sensitive to words. So, so that's the thing. If you're, if your man is the type of person that knows how to deal with hardships in relationships, okay, that's not the person that will escape for you the minute the relationship gets rough or you need to deepen your commitment. That may be the case that you're blocking his path. At this time, both women and men awaken to, it's not just disobey, but to obey. We're not disobeying, we are obeying our heart. I really like the Reinhard May that has come with the song Nein, meine Söhne gebe ich nicht. And this is one of the most beautiful. Um, yeah, I know. I'll be the one at the comments of Navo and then listening to Reinhard May because I am, because that's me, because that's what I be. Um, and so people are awakening to obey their own hearts. And for heaven's sake, if that entails something that is life risking, it's so for most of us, rather than send them off to some crazy war or have another baby so they wouldn't go into one, but the baby deserves like other reasons to come to life, right? Um, then a lot of people, men and women, awaken to disobey because they awaken to obey their hearts. So you don't want to restrict the same thing that if a man married you, let's say, he obeyed his heart. And if you stop him from obeying his heart, essentially you're stopping him from being with you. That can manifest as weird type of attractions, cheatings, or a midlife crisis that is like, you know, taking men to wrong directions. Um, and the same for a woman, okay? If you married a woman, you married consensually, okay? You married a woman that was obeying her heart. She was with you because she was obeying her heart. If you try to block her way from doing what she came here to do. Or you got attracted, or you fell in love, or fell in lust with a woman who was obeying her heart. Okay, I don't like this MK Ultra. Okay, I'm obeying my heart. If you try to take me away from this path, basically you're taking me away from you as well. Because I need to obey my heart. I cannot be with you obeying my heart if you keep me from being on a path where I obey my heart. And my mind as well. It's not detached from the mind. What Peter said, this about Netherlands, this country is North Korea, is now getting global. They try to make a global North Korea, all the while North Koreans are trying to get the fuck out of it, including Kim Jong-un. The guy likes to smoke, the guy likes to drink, he doesn't like to be in a working camp. Okay? He likes the lifestyle of the West. That they say is crumbling and falling. But China only has eyes on the West because they want to get the fuck out of China. The sky that punishes the land loses mandate over the land and over the heavens, loses the mandate of the heavens over the land. And that's true for Mao and it's true for everyone. For we the people as well. Now it's the we the people sign. So I had this eureka. It's like, hey, if you're a person, man or woman, it's like the problem is like a problem with your relation, and that is like, commitment, getting responsible, knowing about relations, that knowledge, then cheating is not going to help that. Also in non-monogamy, you will run into that as many relationships you have, you will run into the same problem. If I think about the way they tried to make me sex espionage, so they tried Peter, then they tried Wilders, then maybe they tried Ruth, I have no idea. But the thing is, everything was the same problem. 2030. So Peter was dead, but Wilders in jail, and Rutte is the head of NATO and the agenda contributor to the WEF. So if you think about it in that way, it's like it's the same problem I had with all of maybe some of them are gay. I don't know. Um, I guess these people try for things like that. But I never consented. A willing consent is what got us to be alive, okay? And um, and I wouldn't like that. And sex espionage is what got USSR to fall because they used Eliza against some crime. Really, it's really funny against some drug lord or a crime family. Okay, it's like she got the crime family down, but then USSR fell as well. Okay. I don't know if crime families kept USSR alive, but but when it comes to WHO, and if you get a crown witness against Tachi, and very likely, there's something that you need to tend to. It's a lot of murders and stuff. But then you get the WHO out of it. That's why I think it was the WHO thingy. And of course, WHO, they take out down all the drug cartels. So there's also the human factor, the personal factor. If a state witness has a family, then that family matters and so on. So again, if your partner is kind of like the partner who knows how to solve problems in relationships, and you've been there for a while and so on, make sure you don't keep them from obeying their heart and mind, because right now it's important for the world. We have enough people under mind control, and if I take it to Ronald Bernard, and I know he would give me that Ronald Bernard is mixed with the everyone, also Trudy, everyone, okay? I woke up My Pluto square was like a big hug. And then I wake up and still people try to curse me. And I'm like, why? Squarely and honestly, don't be jealous at me getting a hug from someone I don't even know, actually, uh, when you're not doing anything against the MK Ultra. And when you were perpetuating these things, don't, like, if you think I'm your ticket out of hug, then you gotta correct something. You gotta do something different. So, and you don't want to go through this crisis, because the crisis is like, maybe you got a hold on my energy when I was not existing in my body, then I exist in my body, and then I sway away from. You don't want to be that person that somebody sways away from as they get into themselves, right? That's and we are at the expiration date for, let's just see if we can change the system from within, has arrived. Pluto is in Aquarius, 0 degree Aquarius, um, with the moon applying to oppose Pluto. So that's the thing. But I want to have something even more fun and light. No, not this one. It is here. And they were shooting light. There was bombs that made of light into the house of Prime Minister Netanyahu. So bombs that made of light. This is such a beautiful thing, because there's such a Uranus-Pluto, there's such a bisextile going active, and they were basically bombing his house with light. And so, of course, people could get killed and blah, 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 blah. But hey, people got killed in 7th October. and I'm saying nothing. I mean, to do something about this MK Ultra. Now would be the time to sing. So this basically a bombs that they are just lighting up the place. And I find it such a beautiful signification of Pluto ingress to Aquarius and the bisextile, and basically for the weapon that's used is to put light where there was darkness. Um, so this is something I absolutely love. So yeah, it's light bombs. And the people are something with the army. Ofer Doron, Amir Sadeh, Nita Efe. Okay, so these are 3 people that they are from the army. The retired veterans. And I was thinking about the MK Ultra. Regardless of these folks, they're probably vaccinated, they're probably fake revolution. But the thing is, else they do something about the MK Ultra. Like, if you're really revolting, get the children out of the caves. Then you're sleeping with the woman, then entities try to get a hold into her energy while you're sleeping with her, and she wakes up, somebody tries to curse her, and she's like, what will I do about it? Let's say another thing about MK Ultra. And I was like, why am I single? But I gotta say this, because let's begin with, what could we as society do right now that we should have done decades ago, but we can do it right now. Listen to the Cold War veterans when they talk of MK Ultra. Bring testimonials of cold. Now, begin to house these people. I might be doing a podcast if I find survivors, of interviewing people that know something about this. I might, okay? I'm still difficult. Uranus in my 3rd house, appointments is still difficult. But here's something you can do. Bring the testimonial of these people. House the homeless. I've been saying this. Sphere and Sundry been sitting in Oregon, and they had this. It was one of the last states where they were voting whether to have a death camp basically for homeless people, or not. And most of these homeless people, they're veterans. Okay, so um, so that was being loud. I'll even say it before Sting had Luciane with Caitlin. I was like, why? Very, very likely saving. I was like, why don't people want to work? And that backfired. Oregon, the dead camps in Oregon, the dead camp. It even took me time to understand that because I learned about it from someone who lived there. Um, but the thing is, that's the local produce that is planned. By the way, yesterday they began to have buses like not really arriving and public transportation not really transporting, whether it's the train or the bus in Israel. And I'm like, Israel is getting North Korea again. And that's going to be on a global level. So it's for us to pay attention to, um, because, all these 15-minute city stamping. There is a fund called Eretz Ir, which means the country city in Israel. So you might want to check about this fund, or like, if you're going from the institutions or dissolving them. But I think on a personal level, just getting to speak with Cold War veterans and understand that MK Ultra was done also from afar. And I was one of the people that were targeted from afar, very likely since childhood. Of course, it's not somebody putting electrodes in your brain, um, but it is nudges and mind control. So, like, we need to get people to talk, because speaking is both curating and it's both creating solutions. Um, and to start thinking about like housing solutions, stuff like that. One of the major things I already talked about that, um, is the way we treat the marginalized. Okay, so whether it's women and so on, and children, and on that level, I say, okay, the if you're in a marriage and have children, please don't don't make each other disobey their heart and mind. Right now, this is so important because you're not going to be having a happy family with the secret cults and covenants. You basically, the curses are on the fertility. The curse, like, people literally curse to have betrayal between close couples. Okay, um, and that's the economy, and it's going down right now. So now is the time, okay, to obey our hearts and obey our minds. Um, because the business that is based on slavery, which is all of your investments, when it comes to your housing as well, they can confiscate property like nothing. They just do some laser. And I've been trying to walk around the neighborhoods, tell people, hey, if you got mortgage on this house, try to make for the law that if they evacuate you, they can't put you in debt. Okay, that mortgage is canceled, and that is something that needs to be there, because there all these ways. Yeah, humanity is going to awaken, but both on a personal level, like if your spouse is kind of like strained at this time, they may be, and they've been like a person you can rely on with your life. It may be a curse of the covenants, but it can also be that they are nudged from within to do something about what's happening, and you may have promised to each other that you pick your battles, um, which ends up in the gas chamber, very simply put. I will not lie to you about that. It is a global crisis. It is not a local crisis. Also, my word to Reinhard May, it's not like you can run with your son elsewhere. You have to disobey, whether it's on the land that you are, or maybe you choose an astrological location that is good for you. And on that level, I recommend people to begin to study it themselves, because there are courses and covenants. And for an astrology business to still be active at this time, is challenging. Okay, so get a reading, but yet another reading. Okay, and that means that, to study or to take a course or to buy a course of astrology is more useful, um, so that you learn this topic yourself and you begin to, if you still have money to travel yourself. The old thinking of, you could have had a house right now, you could have used this money to ta 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 ta, that would be confiscated, that place would be laser evacuated, and I would be in tremendous debt. So I may have bought too much coffee because I didn't have money for normal food in university, or I may have bought crystals that helped me heal, or I may have spent money on courses that are to do with relationships and how to have good relations with people. And in that case, I couldn't have invested my money better, because the karma of me healing with the crystals and sending that energy to the mines where there were child labor is excellent, and that's something that's actually viable. I'm not saying about cells, but it's something that can heal and curate. Um, that coffee means that, hey, if I work, maybe I cannot with my feet, but a coffee shop, or to open a coffee shop or something like that, that could be something I make money from, because when I had no money, I would still buy coffee and I would still buy crystals. And those relationship courses, when I was also doing astrology, it was relational astrology, and I give people actual good tips. So, and now when I'm putting my money into astrology courses, then I would be able to do it, and I'm putting my blood of the spirit and blood of the soil and blood of the body into eliminating that sexpionage MK Ultra thingy on that global level. um, that definitely yields, because just to buy a house and choose my battles would end up laser, which would end up Nova, which was NAFO before Rute, but was NAFO. But hey, it's a gender contributor to the WEF. Okay. And was, yes, I do say that, of course. It's not bad and Peter Rute. It's the same thing, because they grow them, okay, they grow them into the satanic camp, and they're not going to use Lars to get at Wilders and Ruto without getting in the entire topic of these Disney camps, where is torture camps for children, and all of your politicians and influencers grow in those camps, and they picked by bloodline. They go through horrors that the Holocaust was a kindergarten next to, and then they want to ruin the world. Of course they want to ruin the world. Nobody came to save them. Okay, so what's laser on entire, let's say, New York, to build another thing? Okay. And you move, and if you say, oh, I will move from unelected position, lo and behold, you find yourself prime minister for 20 years, almost, like, I don't know, 2 decades, 2.5 decades, for the, I think it was the Pluto Capricorn. God damn it, it was the Pluto Capricorn. So people are going to Peter Rute, but it's like, hey, it's all of them. And we need to tend to abolish expandable children praxis, because the policies that come out of being tortured for your entire life are dead to humanity. Okay? And we, the people, need to understand that that if we just go with the war of the law, what we saw with the guillotine, okay, that's the war of the law. They're just fighting against themselves. Who's going to be the next crime family, with secret curses and covenants to rule the world, okay? And putting it like they're doing democracy, they're not. But we, the people, need to tend to that, because those secret cults where you have to curse, and you have to curse, like, you have to curse your family or your fertility or your I don't know what, and you have to sacrifice people on a consistent basis to do any business, to do a manicure business, okay, to do a pizza business. um, okay, and I'm not going to even talk about, a public service position or a lawyer or a doctor or even an astrologer, okay? And this is something that we as society need to be tend to. With good balance of work and rest, we have success. We also have good orgasms. We also have good fertility. And our bodies will always go there. Our souls, our hearts, our minds, they will always go where the good stuff is because we came here to live, right? And then people try to call it disrespect or dishonoring or this, that, or this, that. It doesn't matter. Okay? Our hearts go a certain direction. You can have people, even people that were tortured, even people that were set to destroy humanity. Okay? Even people that grew up because they thought they're raising the next. You know that Peter the First, they thought is going to be Kissinger? Like, what's that fingerprint on the misdaadverslaggever brand? Okay, how do you call it? Yeah, that they thought they were raising a Kissinger. Okay, he's the guy who spoke against WHO. He's the guy who helped the state witness, the crown witness, yes, but the state witness because that state witness has family. Okay, you say he did also other things. Yeah, all of them do. That's the reality of satanic ritual abuse. That's the reality. You're not gonna put Lars. Lars has been through enough to be used against as an agenda. Okay, and Trudy has been through enough to be used as an agenda. And I know that she's dealing with a ton of assassins. So you see a reptile image, and you see people shape-shifting into her. It doesn't matter. The agenda is still the agenda, and we need to take these children out of there. It's not about how many religions we got. It's about whether we sacrifice humans and sacrifice children and invert anything that is actually life force, whether it's fertility, sexuality, or so on or not. That's the thing. It doesn't matter which. I can say in all names of Allah. I can say in the name of Jesus. I can go, why did I say that they would see me every Sunday on the Oranje Kirk? Because there was all the symbolism, and the priest is astrologer. So I can say whatever, but even if that church has ritual sacrifice of children, then you won't see me on the Oranje Kirk. Okay, I think they can do without my €2, but you get the gist. I watch travel videos, and some of them, like I would watch travel videos and watch travel in Netherlands, and the reality of the lodges, both in Israel and Netherlands and everywhere. Sometimes you feel it in the energy of the place, and you're like, the place is so beautiful, and you want to be there, and there's all this emotional purge coming out because we need to change the reality of our lives. But let's see if there's some more Pluto news. I thought the light into the house. Mama, זרקו זיקוקים לבית של ביבי. Oh, so that was a couple of days ago. So that was the end of Pluto Capricorn. Okay, so that was before the Pluto ingress. But that is just so beautiful. That's the bisextile perfecting. Let's see if we got something about the Pluto ingress. News. I'm recording, Mamale. News. Yes. They want everybody to pay attention to Bibi, so we wouldn't pay attention to MK Ultra. Not gonna work. Veterans are not stupid. Women that escaped violence are not stupid. Men that try to respectfully divorce or, God forbid, stay married are not stupid. Massive crowds on March on New Zealand Parliament protesting Maori bill. Okay, that's just like the last of the Pluto Capricorn because it's like structure. Okay, they want to delay Trump's sentence until he leaves White House. So this is kind of like the structure knocking itself down. Putin issues new nuclear doctrine. Ukraine hits Russia with attack what atomic bombs? What's that? What they do there? Nuclear weapons are the ultimate for bargaining chip. I said chip is something I have. Chips is something I have with fish in Enkhausen. Okay, and I am the person before anybody heard of Neuralink. Okay, I'm a person that read about chaos theory. Say, hey, what we do for the heart, we could do for the brain. That's not what they did there. Okay, and it's not about Elon. It's about what they wouldn't let him do. Okay. Um, People ask why I can speak to these people and get somehow away with that and no one can, because I obey my heart. I don't come to knock anybody down. I don't come to use anything against anybody. I obey my heart. It's like, hey, that thing needs to be fixed, and that's not going to take down a person, and that's not going to be disrespectful, and that's not going to recruit information to agenda. Like, had that thing needs to be fixed. We all suffer from that, regardless of which status we are, and that's it. Yes, allegedly flew to women to New York, paid them for sex. So that's sex trafficking. Okay, but that's 1 day ago. Again, nobody pays anybody for sex. What they're paying is to turn them into slaves because they want them to do espionage. But this espionage is wrong because USSR used sex espionage uh, with the method of raping people, and what it gave was USSR falling. So they knocked down a crime family, but then they fell themselves. On the other hand, I was some person tried to recruit me to, I don't know, something like, I did not know it's espionage, but something like, trying to, basically, I thought he was trying to get me to have an affair with him in the beginning, which I said, no, you're married, and I don't want that, and I want out. And then I began to return to my body and like purge things. And I realized I was like, hey, that he was trying to get me to sleep with him for like money. Hell no. Um, and that was like, it's called shidul. Okay, so that's like, that's human trafficking. And then I realized that it was not even sex. Okay, the reason I wasn't into was because they were torturing people. Okay, and I saw that his problems with his penis, I'm sorry, is because of the cult and what they think about women. It's like, hey, if that's your blood test and you just need to eat less sugar, then I'll tell you that. But if you tell me my blood test okay, then what, you know, then what can it be? It must be something other than that. If everything physically is okay, then it's not your age. Your age would manifest physically, or it manifest something. It's the age of the cult inside you. That's why. That's why, first of all, that's why you needed to cheat on your wife because your wife is not coping with that. That's the first thing. You said this is the case where a person cheating because it has the same problem they deal inside the marriage have outside the marriage. And you try to come to me because you have this process. You think you can buy me with money. No, it would be unhealthy to my vagina. I would get yeasty. And then it would harm my nervous system and harm my fertility. And the whole, like, if I would get with someone, it's because I'm attracted to him. Okay? I'm not supposed to not be able to make money. Actually, for my sexual energy, there's my passion and there's what my value to give to the world. So even if it's astrology or whatnot, remember the astrology podcast was sitting at a conference and somebody asked why all astrologers are hot. Okay? It's like, yes, of course all astrologers are hot because nobody expects you to be an astrologer. You follow your heart when you do that. So of course, it's sexy as fuck. Okay? You stand against what society would expect, you do your thing, and you're successful at this, then it's hot as fuck, okay? But that's the thing. And so what I didn't know that they were like doing this torture thing, and then putting people to sex espionage. But because I was keeping for my willing consent, then I was not the person that helped assassinate Peter. On the other hand, I was the person who looked into his death. And I was like, it's coming out of me so much so that I could not speak when I saw things. I think on Google, the first they put it July 6th for when he was shot, and I check it on the chart, and I'm like, this is not the chart, the dead chart of a person, and that's it. Okay, now I don't even know how I knew it. But then I look again, I was like, oh, he died at the 15th, but it's 9 days from shooting. It cannot be. um, As like I read more about this Peter and who was this Peter and what was this Peter and so on. Oh, he was also a politician, okay. Also this, also oh, he spoke against the WHO, probably for the drug lords. Oh no, he got assassinated for that, very likely. And the witness was from the crown, and that family was not unfamiliar family, so maybe they vouched for him. So they betray. Oh, it's the cult covenants thing. Of course, you can see all the world, the MK, the 33, the 6. It's like actually the numerologic numbers that are associated with me and the Seife. Oh, so the fact that I kept willing consent, that willing consent was valid when I had privilege to maintain it as much as I can. I went through horrors and torture because of this. But that fact was I was not the person helping to assassinate Peter, but I was the person shedding light on the assassination. And it was no way to silence. I could not silence me, okay? And so you see the difference between sex espionage that is done with rape and with people just following their own essence of desire, passion. Okay, passionate about astrology, passionate about this. Looking at this chart, okay, this chart lights up my chart because of this 22, so let's do something about the 22. Let's do this, let's do that, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. You talk about everything and you expose everything, but you don't do it with agenda, you don't do it with control. And the knowledge comes to you because it's actually good knowledge. No, they're not going to use Lars to kick off one, or two people that hurt him, but keep the rest people that are doing the same thing. No, they're not going to abuse Lars, and they're not going to abuse Trudy, and they're not going to abuse Jag. That's the difference between that and sex espionage. Sex espionage, yeah, you take down this crime family, but the USSR falls. Why? Because you were sending girls to Royal Academy and raping them. Okay, Putin, can you hear me? Because Putin can take this war with just that. If you stop sex espionage the way it's done right now and allow people for the essence of desire, willing consent, and encourage willing consent, so you might not have as much babies, but the babies that you will have, look at Israel. Israel has technology, for example. So with technology, Israel can do a lot of things. Yes, but Israel became weak on the willing consent and it got invaded. Very simply put, got infiltrated because it got weak on the willing consent. If a Putin raises the willing consent, okay, then with all the infrastructures that are already in Russia, he can take the war. Because he's going to have to compete NAFO. And with NAFO, Rutte already said we're not going to vouch for war crimes and for sex crimes against the women, even by UN forces. Okay, now you gotta raise the bar, because the person that will take that is the person that genuinely could grow something that stands the test of time in the age of Pluto Aquarius. And it's true for China as well. And Japan. Let's talk about, China is a big, big country, okay? But with the BRICS, also Japan force is growing because it's highly technological. And so for Japan, if men can sleep with other women, but women cannot sleep with other men, you're not a liberal society. You're growing the same imbalance that brought in, that is so much so that Hiroshima and Nagasaki can drop again. Just a tiny example of what it's like to be on the road with me. That's the path. This is what we do here. Um, And we need people to say that. And I got proof because if I would go with this Idonevo, okay, first of all, he would no longer be attracted to me, and for all the right reasons, because I would betray myself. Okay, it's not attractive. And secondly, he would try to traffic me because I have Dutch passport to this new candidate, which he presented as somebody that, and then would either try to promise me money, okay, because maybe I wore fancy dresses outside of study, so he thought, and he stalked very likely, so he thought no, it was dresses that were bought in half the price bargain deal that I could only get into when I was hitting my amphetamines to write my thesis proposal and try to save money for a degree, for like the PhD. Um, Thanks God I didn't go to Ivy League at the time, because that would be, so embarrassing right now. Like, Ivy League is so embarrassing right now. Okay? You plan all your life. Would study in this school, in that school, I would study this, I would study that. And then, Ivy League is just so embarrassing right now. Oxford and Cambridge are so embarrassing right now. You see, the Pluto ingress is Pluto ingressing. I'm looking for it in the news, and I'm the news. But what I gotta say is I got proof to say it, because if I take Eliza, she she did not act against the government. She took down a crime family, but the USSR fell. And she's in the States. She has to escape. I mean, really, she had to escape to the United States. Come on, your intelligence has to escape to another country. Look at Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden had to be, hand in hand with Putin, because your CIA, whatever, couldn't vouch for him in the state. You cannot vouch for a person in the States. Is he a traitor? No, he told people about surveillance. Land of the free. Within the cult, outside the cult. Okay? You can't vouch for the guy in the States. He's not safe in the States. Remember when Julian Assange was outside? They did so many things to get Julian Assange to the States. Where's that spy that was in North Korea? Kim Jong-un was vying for people to listen to Hillary. Take this person back. I don't want him in the death camps here. Why'd you not take that person back? But Julian, oh my God, Julian. Okay? No, you can't pick your battles. If you pick the battles, pick the biggest one, because the biggest one is the children lying in the cave. And that it's both pertaining to you. It's not a sacrifice that you do for others. It's pertaining to each and every one of us. Okay? And like I said, when it comes to this, sexpionage thingy, USSR fell over that. United States very likely could be falling over that. Okay, because that's not, and this is the MK Ultra. This is what they did in the Cold War. Everything's falling over that. Whereas when you do practice willing consent, if you even tend to that, so you get people that's like, hey, I did not help assassin Peter, but actually help us solve this case, which also helps his opposition Wilders, which also has helping Rutte for to see where things lay when it comes to their living situation and what needs to be tended to. Because I'll be the one talking about the bingo expandable children praxis, and I'm not using Lars as like, oh, he was hurt by Wilders and Rutte. Okay, let's take down Wilders and Rutte. No, it was hurt by the praxis of expandable children, which all of them suffers from. And we're not going to use him as agenda, but we are going to listen to him because he speaks the voices that all of these people that you see, not just Wilders Rutte, but look, all the governments, the presidents, the prime ministers, so all these people can't speak, can't speak. And that hurts our relationships, and they keep them that way because when a person cannot obey their hearts, then it's easier to get them through sexpionage. And when a person went through torture as a child where he had to perpetuate torture, then to get another child that's working like that and is mind controlled to bring in urges the way Anneke Lucas described, then this is how you get the pedo rings. So the biggest battle is those expandable children praxis and the MK Ultra, which is the sexpionage, but also sexpionage is not just for women, it's also for men. Okay, but it's the Cold War veterans, what is the people that grew up to the expandable children praxis. Pick the biggest fights because anyway you're gonna have to fight the biggest fight. But when you tend to the big fight right now, the big fight becomes small. You see, I just say MK Ultra, then Jack like, why do you talk about it if you can't do anything? Why don't you begin to talk about it? Then the Cold War veterans begin to reply. Okay, then I begin to reply. Then something happens here. Because everybody knows that they're the next heads to go. And it's not like, you're going to have a prosperous, thriving economy after you off with all their heads. It's like, no, they're just preparing the new heads. That, why Peter spoke against WHO. He was meant to be Centaurian. He was meant to be like Kissinger on that level of what he was setting for this person to do, because he was very intelligent. He was both emotionally intelligent and, this Mercury Scorpio with the hard aspect to Pluto, and Pluto on Regulus. Okay, this person was meant to be like a hidden monarchy. You see, I see chart. And with the Mars Pisces, 20 degrees is degree of Capricorn in Pisces, so it would go through the drugs, it would go through espionage, for all these things. Law, drugs, espionage, okay, that person, from the point of view of the cult, he was a very important asset because he could connect with the common people, but he could be like hidden monarchy. That person could be better than Kissinger at planning world disaster that people cannot even begin to imagine, okay? But that experiment failed for them, and this person spoke against the WHO. They couldn't shut him up. And he knew that the drug lords is a problem, but when becomes the big organization, they take all the drug lords down, but they build a North Korea. Okay? And they're not going to keep Rutte. Just like, hey, you build the building, okay, now off with your head. They already said, what is this, AI to replace Mark Rutte. He's a workaholic, mind you. And so all the people will be like, oh, so happy. Oh, they were all pedos and this and that. They were all growing into death camps with nobody coming to save them. All of them. And from within these death camps, you would see that they actually try to remediate of the horrors that we go through. Some of them, yes, and it goes between let's kill all humanity to, maybe that person deserves It wasn't for nothing that Ronald Bernard's wife said, if you were going the path you were previously going, and I know he's still mixed up with that thing, but it's like, hey, we're talking about it, so he won't be mixed up with that thing. We create opportunities, and now it's time for that. That his wife said, if you were with the previous way, with the cult, I would not be able to be married to you. And it's true, because you cannot have healthy marriage in cult. The courses that people put on is like try to make everybody betray anybody. What they did to Peter, they tried to make the crime family that very likely vouched for him, okay, to betray him, and then the wound on the entire family, because a person like this, children grow with think any day the father can be killed, because he tends to crime. The crime that nobody tends to, okay, the prostitutes, the immigrant prostitute, he would go up to Australia to see what happened with that woman. All the MK Ultra that they put on him, and he was MK33. He was 33. He was supposed to be Kissinger. All these things that they put on him goes doesn't compile. So they had to kill him. And then they thought they would take a person like me to do the job. I'm the person who say, "You unbended me for Deming." What a bad recruitment of an assassin. But this is a time where, of course, we did, and I say, like I said, okay, my relationship stuff, they're to do with that stuff, okay? And I see it. It's like if I can't date someone, and I see why I can't date someone. Because of this, because of that, because of that. Oh, because I tend to these things, and I'm meant to tend to. But we're all meant to tend to these things, and we all tend to change masonry. When I said we're the new masonry, it's not because I declared myself a mason of these masons, not at all. But building structure is masonry, okay? And the structure has to be adapted to be living a good life. If you have to curse everybody to get a job, and it's not even like influencers or celebrities or no. You want to work at the pizza. You want to have a business. You want to open a coffee. I spend so much money on coffee that would very, very likely be a good investment for me to invest in coffee. Okay, if it's ethically produced and so on and so forth, yeah, that could be good business. But it's not even because with the protection, you can go to the person that asks protection and say, hey, what are your dreams and goals in life? You need money to do something. Let me, instead of protection, let me allocate money for fund that you do this and your family do this. Because very likely it's a marginalized family. But with cults, we can't do, because this is meant to control humanity. It cannot be that to study astrology or to study something, you have to get into some cult and covenants, okay? Or to do talisman, you have to get some cult and covenants that curse your fertility, that curse the intimacy between you, that can make people betray each other that have family. In Beersheba City, where I live right now, where I reside, it was crime families. And everybody was shooting. I came to live here after that. They killed each other. Why a competition where you think about the shipping companies? They're like, one shipping company did not have a ferry to Israel. So they said, for maybe a competitor has one, they just call them, because to help a client was more important than to fight with each other. So they're successful. If you learned a little bit about business, the more business we have, of something, then the more prosperity is to everyone. So if one business is not successful, we as community of businesses should help this business be successful, not to try to bring them down. And if market is flooding, naturally things are going to happen with this market, okay? For example, I thought I will always give one-to-one readings in astrology. I thought I always want to have the hands-down experience, da, 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 da. So I thought. But there are many other things that I could do with astrology that integrate to something that I'm passionate about. So it's becoming from blue ocean to red ocean. There are more blue oceans that I create. Caitlin Capo created the blue ocean for astrological talismans that are not just stone. Okay? And she's one of the fairest people when it comes to like her credit. She doesn't look to sue or litigate anybody. She's like, she's happy that you're doing something. Just like do it, just like make sure you know what you're doing, because that can really, that stuff is really potent. Um, and as long as you give her credit for her work, she's fine. And even when you don't, she's kind of like, fuck. Like she's been in places like kind of like, oh, fuck it. Just make sure that if you write something is constructive. So not to have her bad name, not to have like a beehive that backfired on Beyonce. Um, so so that's something I learned from. Okay, there's a business model that's like definitely like if I opened the business and I would pay money for them to give me what the patents and the experience of what they did there, because that maybe together with other business models, and there was a pizza business model where they were sharing dividends with the employees, so people would work at the pizza but they would make enough to buy apartment. We can do that. This is the time to do that. This is the time for such initiations. Wall Street isn't picking with the known entity J. Clayton as new top cop. Tops and bottoms is Capricorn. Okay? Just saying. Tren de Aragua has already set up shop in this 16th state. Okay, so Cher discusses divorce. It's not much news, at least not on Google. Let's take another app to see if we have some ingress news. Tor. By the way, Christopher Warner came out with another Moon Kazemi talisman, which is good to be invisible from the government. So, okay, connect. So that one is if it's not sold out. Okay, let's just do news and see if there's anything. I know thanks to Dan Waits and S.J. Anderson that they have been censoring not just Google but news in general. So we don't really get to have news. Pressure is on to get Biden to fulfill campaign promise. This is 9 hours ago. Biden was one of the heads of MKUltra. I think I got blocked by by a musician for saying that because they were voting blue. But hey, that's life. I'll deal with that. Okay. Breaking news, something. News. Yeah. What's that? Okay. Duck, duck, and go. Get it on Google Play. What the whole point is to be separate from Google. I don't know how to do that. SpaceX launches giant Starship rockets but passes up catching it with mechanical arms. Okay, so another SpaceX. This is very reasonable because Elon got Mars Rahu in Aquarius. So he's going to be sending rockets to space. Elon, take those cameras off my bedroom. Or I'm going to publicly ask you if my butt is hairy today, every day. Okay? Um, Do something different. I mean, do like flying cars that are solar. You can do that. Remember that housing project you have? You had a housing project. There's small houses project you could put anywhere. Your safety houses. I don't know about that. But without the bloody surveillance. Everything's Wi-Fi connected. He has so many great ideas. How science lost America's trust and surrendered health policy into skeptics. Science never lost trust. What they do is just not science. I was thinking yesterday about the traumatic experience of being an actual scientist in in the world of global cults, or an actual entrepreneur. Maybe Elon can relate. Um, or an actual lawyer. I don't know. Um, I mean, I go back to Warnock saying that he talked about standardization of astrology, and he talks about, hey, when they did that for lawyers, it didn't take corruption out. It was being very tender with that. Bomb cyclone brings high winds and soaking rain to Northern California and Pacific Northwest. What I can say is Israeli, when they brought MK Ultra here, like big time, I understand more of the problems of Americans. America, you have been living in a North Korea. My heart is with fellow Americans. Listen to the veterans, house the homeless. All sex work is espionage, and that means intense rape and torture that is MK Ultra. It's not about respect. It's about homecoming. And those who hold the American dream are sitting homeless, working 2, 3 jobs, try to get a parking next to the trees and not get vandalized. So, um, believe the people when they talk about removing what is archons, whatever. I don't know for what this thing is. Um, and yes, those are the things you can do about that. And I say this as a person who's beginning to deal with the problems of Americans, because now we got the dumb fuckery all here. You can't go to pick up makeup without your makeup becoming have a bug in the program. Watch my Rebecca episode. So what now? She gonna lose her business? Prosecutors say sentencing in Trump hush money case can be postponed. Okay. This is kind of like the final rock in the building of the resistance. The dark energy put in our universe apart may not be what it seems. Now this is the thing is I'm reading that, and in the past I was like, oh no, something sciencey, and today I'm like, they're just diversion tactics from news, and it's very likely not even science. Director of Pentagon. Oh, speaking about the homeless people and the whistleblowers, if you want to get good science, you might find some among those. Like really, very likely your potential community is either homeless right now, or like they're not in the peer reviewed. Okay, just saying. Director of Pentagon's UAP, because during Pluto Capricorn you could still find them among the line. Like I was still in academia during the Pluto Capricorn, right? You could still like you could most Pluto Capricorn you could still find me either at a job or in the academy, or in academia, or trying to grow a business. You could still find me doing these things, and you could still get like you could still get a conversation with me, and you'd get a conversation with somebody who knows something about something. But now you won't find them there. The expiration date for trying to change the system from within the system is expired, and that's how it is. It's not for nothing that Ido tried to keep contact with me, because he knew that I'm going where I should be going. And if he's going the other way, then that's okay, but it's not going there with me, on any level. Like if you do these espionage things and try to talk to me of like why I could have a house that would be destroyed and be putting me in tremendous debt. There's a difference in 2008 when I was in debt, and that debt got me a degree. Okay? There's a difference where you try to get me to get a house, then be homeless, and be in debt, and be enslaved. So how attractive you think you are to me? And so, and then the people from within the academy are trying to get a hold of people like me, because they're like, they know where Abby is, where things at. I didn't know that. I didn't understand what they want from me. And when I was escaping that so-called of a therapy, it's like, it's not that that person doesn't know how to heal people. It's just that the same Ultra is keeping in the secret covenants. So like, darling, if you want to be with me, which right now you creep the fuck out of me. If you wanted to be with me, I be where it's at. You were attracted to a woman that says no to cult, and you try to what? Get her back into the cult. How attractive you think you are to me, Tamayaro, now? No, curses won't do. It backfires and it goes back to sender. You don't curse a woman to be with you, just like you don't curse a man to be with you. I know. I'll be with the people that do something about that. That's the thing. That's what I came here to do. So right now you wouldn't find them 555 as I speak change. Focusing on what we do want. So right now I said we wouldn't find them in the academy. Where you would find them? Well, at the margins of society. So where are the margins? Okay, if they're in the hospitals or jails, then you might find them there. If they're homeless, you might find them there. If they're on shadow banned communities. Now, what do you do for YouTube? You search and you do relevance. You do date of upload. Okay, this is how I find Roy's interview, because Roy's RTL interview wasn't online, and I would look for like Royce de Vries. Then I found nothing. Then I changed for the settings to be upload date. Then I finally found there was the interview that he did with RTL, because they were trying to cancel the family. They're afraid because the father spoke against the WHO. They're afraid what the son will do. And when the first public media performance for the son after the book is like the Corvan out. So they know that, you know, the apple did not fall far from the tree, and that apple is not rotten. Okay? Um, so when you want to look for people with YouTube, I will do it as well. You do the upload date. And then for the upload date, it's going to show you what the relevant video is for the upload date. Now, if it's an old video, it might not show up in your algorithm. So this is where I say the people that been marginalized and hear this, begin to upload now. Okay? Now, and this is how we find each other. And the people that have been used, you see a person like Jack Wright, okay? Then she's been fighting for so many years that she got exhausted, and then the call tried to get to her and say, okay, you can whistleblow on that, but da 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 da, or try to use her for agenda. Okay, then I go and say MK Ultra. Then she goes and say, if you can't do anything about this, now say we do something about this. Because I've not been going to the testimonial platforms that had a Rosie on them. I'd go to the people at the WEF. Who's our person at the WEF? It's now head of NAVO. Let's talk to the person. Okay? Publicly. It's all public. You can see my comments, all public. Said never, okay? Except for one DM to Royce on the pedo rape stuff. Okay, there's nothing, and even there I can tell you what I wrote. I said if we catch that when a person is victim, which basically means accepting yin, which is the core issue of that cult, then we actually can avoid rape. But you just advocate and the victim so don't get time to heal, and that then when we advocate for pedos to come back, it's no rehabilitation if we didn't tend to the victimhood, which is what they consider yin. So, yeah, that's the thing. It has no secret maneuvers. I know we are heading to Pluto Aquarius. It's a time of transparency. All my maneuvers public. Everything it is public. Okay. Both the time where the MK Ultra tried to get to me, and the time where I have more sovereignty. So you can see that. You can see that. Didn't erase anything. So now would be the time to speak, and even these people that speak for the whistleblowers, it's not even holding them accountable. When I say MK Jack been dying to talk about this, but now we gotta vouch for each other, and that thing with the sex espionage won't go. That make USSR drop. Okay, vouch for Eliza. I know that because had I went with that Edo, Peter would be dead. Now he's dead, but not because of me, and not only that he's not dead because of me, I look into his death. Because they sent this espionage, okay, then they deliver the handle information, and then they get the information. Okay, when is this trial going to be? It was easier because it was a trial, but to build that trial, okay, takes a lot of grooming, takes a lot of espionage. But sexpionage is the inverted form of intelligence. And so what's more? So we got to pay attention to these things. And you also need to pay attention because a lot of people, there was this eclipse with Venn metrics, but the Rahu was still on Zendaya. And you want to watch the content for Nada Duncheva on Zendaya. It's a paid content, only $6, but it's very good content because Zendaya is where people tend to harlot themselves. Okay? When people tend to harlot themselves. And when people tend to harlot themselves, and by the way, when I talk about sex espionage, it's the same for men. It's not just women. Okay, just gays, whatnot. It's the same. If you're gay, still will and consent matters. That can save your life, and that can turn you from the person that's assassinated someone. Then later they assassinate you. Okay, to throw you in jail or like whatever. Okay, they don't keep your life. If I ask how I survived, then because I tended to the willing consent, then I saw what the dumb fuckery that people do, whether in their relationship or in their relations with me, and to speak up. And the default was speak up. Yeah, I went to torture. The default is to speak up. Then that keeps you alive. Okay, to choose your battles when you don't choose the bigger battle, you're gonna have to fight the bigger battle anyway. And that doesn't keep you alive. Because by the time you tend to the bigger battle, what happens is that you're already exhausted from all these tiny battles that never win the race. And the bigger battle is always, you will see it when it's obeying your heart and obeying your mind. It's not about disobeying somebody. It's about obeying your heart. Because you see, if you would look at me, I would go to Wilders like, what is with the 2030 thing, the 2030 thing, the 2030, and I speak to Rute. But it doesn't matter because I still speak about what bothers me. Of course I will speak. If you speak with me, I would speak with you. But the thing is, okay, that the issue is still the issue. That's an expendable child. That's an expendable child. Okay, that is set out to be with the off with their heads. That is set out to be with off with their heads. Okay, now speak to the people to bridge that information. Okay, and I see that USSR fell because for they put people like Eliza, they raped them, they disconnected them with their father. What is the relation of leader and people, right? It's parent, okay? It's father, mother, right? And if we hoard connection of father, mother, and son cults, then we have this connection between leaders and their people. Then empires fall. The sky that punishes the land, China, loses mandate of the heaven. Be it Mao Zedong or we the people. And it's true to we the people as well. These dynamics of power get everybody wiped out. This is the chessboard for the cult, okay? There's the chessboard where you see both the whites and the blacks, poof, wiped out. This is why I say when to talk about slavery, don't forget, we don't know who came first, Eshu or Hermes. Then African will say Eshu. Well, you know what that means? That white people were enslaved by you and they learned Hermes like that. The whites will say Hermes. Well, you know what that means? You enslaved black people, then they call it Eshu. Or you enslaved black people and took their spiritual stuff. For the other ones, it would mean you enslaved white people, you took their spiritual stuff. Either way, chessboard, white and black, poof, kaput. Who earns from that? Those people who know. Now, if those people who know that are the wealth owners that create this division, isn't it time for all of us to know that? So instead of creating division, we create not fake unity, but tolerance, ability to live with each other, live and let live. And so we have good sex, good fertility, good pregnancies, good upbringing, good life, and good nations. Why Putin is so strong in Russia? Because he corrected the infrastructure in Russia, the Skyron in his own natal town. We have the chart of Putin. I tell you, this is the chart of Putin. He's known for the good infrastructure in Russia. But if he does in his country sexpionage the way they did in USSR, like they did with Eliza, he's going to fall. Like USSR, because this is structure. He understands that because it's structure that he corrected, but he can correct the structure of sexpionage. And instead of raping people, having people connected with essence of desire and really thinking and coming up with the ideas that they come up with, then also he is defended from the big global thing, be it BRICS or NAFO, okay? But he's gonna have to compete with somebody at NAFO that already reminded us that nobody is gonna vote for rapes. That's Rute. And why would anybody spend any money defending, okay, rapists? They know too much, better to kill them, right? This is how these cults work, that they make people curse for each other. But even within the cults, people continuously do good for themselves and humanity and do even talismans to curate, okay, to get over these curses. We have a painting that sells for breaking $121.2 million. It's a René Marguerite painting. And it looks very much like the photos I take of nature. I love trees. Oh, it's lovely. It is so beautiful. The house seems gloomy though. Like I would structure the house differently. You see, this is called house. It's very gloomy. By the way, let me tell you something. When I was in university, for the first degree, I was painting. And I painted a lot of things with spheres and freedom and the earth and so on. Sketching, okay? And then I came to this Indo Nouveau class. Immediately there was this gloomy buildings like city. The guy been mixed with 20, 30 masons, I tell you. And I paint these gloomy buildings, and it seems so very gloomy. And then I cannot paint anymore, and I listen to him. And that's like, hey, if your students cannot paint in your class beautiful things, that you're not channeling something good. Okay? And he's a very artistic person. So I remember this because I was painting spheres and like freedom and stuff like that. And then I am in his class sitting and painting these gloomy buildings. Okay. Now, why is this thing coming up? Because even within himself, there's something that he's been oppressing himself. Because this is how the MK Ultra works. So he feels like people resist that. So he doesn't understand why you get resistance. Of course, because you can't tell me you could have had a building here, a building there, a building there. It doesn't matter. They're all lasered. And for good reason, because we need to be living in the country or we live even in cities, okay, for the structure, this expansive structure that is good structure. Because we had another Mason person, he was studying physics, and he always talked about we need to have a city and it needs to be economical and it needs to this and it needs to that. And I'm like, well, could we stop that dumb fuckery? If when you after the war, okay, you can't be in a claustrophobic structure, you can't be in an agoraphobic structure. You gotta adapt to your nervous system. Most of the things you need things to be economic for us because you're a drug addict, and you're drug addict because you either rape or raped and don't get to recover. Look at the women that recover from sex espionage, they always grow stuff. They travel and they grow stuff and they build their own houses and like really fascinating things. It's not just because they're women. Okay? That's what we need to get connected with. But in the past, people couldn't do it because they were within this weird structure. Now, we have wide awareness of the dumb fuckery of the pyramids so people can get out of the slavery of building pyramids. It's also what allowed for me, other than willing consent, is having positive view about death, which means I don't think something terrible happened to us. I don't think we're trapped in incarnation. I just don't view death negatively. I'm not eager to die, but I'm also not avoiding death. And people in this course, they are always made to be afraid of death, even the atheists. Always made to be afraid of death. So, yeah. And it's not something that I can, if I could just like channel this thing to you so you will have the experience of how I feel about it and you can have healing, then that could be the case. I know some people do psilocybin, but I don't understand in that. I never did that. And so it's an experiential thing, and I understand. So I think that, but will and consent has a lot to do with that. You understand. And so, yeah, I think for the videos that I called, was it the Correctos, when the Peter Rutter was out? then this is where I addressed some of. I made video later about how to curate from MK Ultra stuff, which is the depersonalization and derealization. So that might be useful. And I use like a strong scent. Okay, if it's a clear like essential oil that's natural scent, then that's the best. But strong something that gets you to your senses and something where you can focus. Okay, outside. Sometimes it naturally happens for people. Um, and there are talismans that can help with that, whether it's the Thermomundi by Sphere and Sundry or whatnot. Okay, you adapt the tool to what you're working with. And I place strong emphasis on people being able to have solid curation for themselves because, of course, we heal within a connection. And sometimes, like in the case where I escaped my psychologist because he was MK Ultra, you have to be able to, okay, you have to be able to enforce a boundary there. And that's facilitated by us, whether speaking up, creating structures, and tending to things, and not being afraid of speaking truth to power, but also not annihilating the people within the power structure, because they are people, and people are leaders. Leaders are people. That's what this cycle means, and not succumbing to the war of the lodges, because hey, if all these lodges are going, you're sacrificing children on the same altar underneath the ground. So it's and then okay, it's kind of like, hey, it's the habit of curses and covenants and sacrifice of humans and sexpionage and creating this divide and conquer. So a married woman would be afraid of the supposed whore that was basically someone who would tortured, then ran into a warm hug of someone. Of course, immediately she falls in love and has become erotic as well. Okay, then they torture her again to make her forget that something happened, or that, God forbid, you're married to someone who is a diddler. Okay, then that can also be. Okay, if in most cases actually that's the case. Um, so she's not a whore, just like your daughter is not a whore. She was raped continuously until she became a sexpionage, and she's still, if you take a look at Eliza, she said she's still working hard to reconnect with her sensuality and her body. Okay, so also when it comes to the visibility of both when we reconnect to our inner selves, then the visibility becomes like it's not something you excessively focus on, but it's like you can do that from a loving place. A loved person glows. That's very simple. So yeah, and yes, a lot of the lifestyle that's been supposedly maintained on social media, I think now we'll have less and less of that, is um, is the result of extreme torture, and then some funny footages. I know because I've been through that when Saturn was in my 12th. And then suddenly you have more views, suddenly you have people liking your stuff, um, suddenly you're not cancelled, uh, and that's not the way to go about it. Pluto in Aquarius is going to be an open door to fix that. So thank you for watching, and that's the Pluto ingress. I don't have much news yet for the Pluto ingress, I guess because I'm the news. So yeah.